So it's been 3 years since we had this SolarEdge solar PV system installed on our house. Home battery, inverter, hot water diverter, all installed on our own personal house. As I did last year, I took you through the figures going 2023 into 2024. Now I've got the data going 24 into 25. I want to talk you through how our system has performed. I'll take you through what we've got, our personal situation, i.e. we have an EV, what we do with the exporting and any issues that we've got with this system. It is broken, so we'll talk through that as well, to give you an update of our year 3 living with solar PV. So firstly, to recap what we have. Starting inside in the garage here that I am renovating at the moment, so check out the socials on me building my dream garage, but this is what we're talking about. So starting with the inverter, so this is a SolarEdge 5 kilowatt inverter. Now we had to get DNO approval to upgrade the inverter from, if I remember correctly, it's 3.78 up to 5 kilowatt inverter. All the gubbins and isolators were on 2 strings, so we've got garage array, which is 8 panels on the roof of the garage, which is south facing. They're 400 watt Perlight panels, all black. And then we have the house array, which is west facing on the back of the house, and that is 12 panels, which is the same 400 watt Perlight panels. And with all the panels, we opted for the SolarEdge optimizers. Now that is a little unit that fits to every single panel, so we've got 20 of those in total, and if I'm right in saying this, that makes each panel more in parallel rather than in series. So any issues with your solar panel, it talks back to your inverter, if I've said this correctly, and allows it to operate in a more safer manner. So it gives you visibility of how each solar panel is working, and then if one were to get a problem, it doesn't affect the rest of them. Same with shadows on one panel for that string, it won't affect the rest of the solar panels. It'll only affect the one that's maybe got shading, rather than bringing all the strings. So if you like, our garage array, if one panel was shaded in a normal circumstance, the rest of the panels would not perform as well. So if one panel was at 80%, they would all be. But with optimizers, it allows 7 of the 8 solar panels to work at 100%, and the one that's shaded not to. We opted to go for that, and I'll touch on where we do have a problem with this as well a bit later in the video. And all this is connected to the 9.7 kilowatt battery, which supports the system as a whole. This were all installed by Oval Renewables, did a fantastic job. And then the final bit of equipment is the SolarEdge hot water diverter. Touched on this in the in other videos. We don't really use that, but what that does is that intercepts sort of the feed going to our main boiler for the house and the immersion heater for the water tank. We can have excess solar that powers up the immersion heater and heats our hot water, reducing the requirement for us to use gas to heat our hot water. However, and I'll talk next on this, how we use the system means we do not require that, because it's cheaper to export, with the intention of getting rid of all the power and not relying on it to use in the home. So how do we use this system? When we had this installed, we was on a tariff where when we exported all the power produced, we got 4p per kilowatt. Not really worth exporting it. It's better to get it used in the house, i.e. to heat our hot water, power the house, try and charge the car. If it's on a colder day, put the electric fire on and use the electricity. However, things quickly changed. So as we moved into year 2, we got a better export rate at 15p a kilowatt, which then changed things up a bit, where we didn't want to really use the electricity because we were buying it in overnight and filling the battery for the house, the battery for the car at 7.5p. Which then meant we want to do everything at the 7.5p and then export everything during the day at 15p a kilowatt. And then over the sort of 23 into 24, the export rate dropped to 12p, and it's kind of maintained at 12p. We do that overnight. We'll plug the car in on Octopus Intelligent, make sure that's fully charged. we also every night dump the battery back into the grid. And this is done just before the cheat rate. So around 9:30 at night, I've set the battery to let all the electricity go back to the grid. Then in the cheat rate, we have maybe 3-hour period until I think it's about 2:30, 3 o'clock, where we start filling the battery back up, ready for the morning the next day. And when we come to start the day, we've got a pretty full battery, the car's fully charged, and the house that uses minimal electricity is just ticking over based on the electricity from the overnight rate. Then, once the solar starts kicking in, the sun rises and the south panels first start kicking in, but for us is around 9:30 in the morning. The battery's already nearly full, so it doesn't take long to get the battery back up to 100%, and then we export everything all day at 15p a kilowatt. And that, in my opinion, is probably the better way to do your solar at the moment, to get it as cheap as possible. Your house kind of works in the background, and for us, our house is the lowest consuming item that we have of electricity, given that we have an electric car as well. So how have we got on with the system? Generally, so this was installed in August 2022, and we've not had a single problem until about a month ago. It's worked kind of in the background of our lives and done everything that we needed. No software issues, no equipment issues, it's just worked. Until a month ago, and I was just browsing, sort of getting myself back into the app because I've just left it in the background, and I noticed one of the panels on the rear of the house was showing no production whatsoever. So I got in touch with Oval and said, is this anything to worry about? Is it like the panel or is it the optimizer? They've gone away, spoke to SolarEdge, and they've come up with the conclusion that it's probably the optimizer that is the problem. That kind of contradicts what I said at the start of the video, where we opted to go for the optimizer to prevent effect on the rest of the panels. So you can look at it two ways. If we'd have not gone for the optimizers, we wouldn't have the problem. We've gone for the optimizers, we're only having an effect on one of the panels out of 20. So it's one of them. It's chicken and egg, and we'll see what the outcome is of that, because my concern is I've potentially got a cost for some scaffolding now. Scaffolding's not cheap. I've had some for another job recently and it was in excess of £500. So we will see. Hopefully SolarEdge contribute to that. Believe they will provide the free replacement optimizer, but as I stand today, we will see what the outcome is, and maybe next year's video we can share that of what the outcome is. Because for me, with the solar equipment, warranty was the biggest driver, and we had the payback of the system had to be less than what the warranty was given. So yeah, still waiting to find out what the answer is with that and what costs are involved, because it all goes towards whether a solar PV system is actually worthwhile. So for the part you're probably on this video to watch is, how has this performed financially for us over the years of 24 into 25, that's August to August, and what have we paid for electricity? A few points to note. I've got my iPad here and I'll put on the screen what I am looking at, but we have an EV. Highlighted in the figures that you can see, I've highlighted the months that was a high mileage use car, which was at the early part of the year of 24 into 25. When I say high mileage, 2,000 miles a month ish. The car has changed what we use it for, and it's now doing much less, maybe 500 to 800 miles a month. But for that period, we did a total of 17,000 miles in the car. We've obviously ran our house and sold all the sort of excess power back to the grid. So I'll take you through the figures and exactly what we've paid for electricity August 24 through to August 25. Starting with how it's worked, and you'll have to excuse me looking at the iPad, so there's a lot of figures here. Now, as you would expect, winter, you don't produce as much. You still produce, and I've even seen in foggy conditions, you will produce power via the solar. very minimal, but it does produce. You wouldn't expect to be, you know, making a profit, if you like, over the winter months. The figures as you can see them and I can see them. So October through to January, February time, we pay for electricity, specifically in this scenario where the car we're doing higher mileage. We've got months where we paid £100 for electricity, £140. This is considering what we paid minus export as well. Then when you move to sort of April time, March, April, things start taking a turn. The weather's improved. As I film this now in April 26, we're starting to see a break-even point. And you'll notice that there is months where we've actually got £50 back, £80 back, £30 back. And that's because we have been buying it in still, but we've been buying in less, but selling more. And it just, throughout the year, goes through a sort of pattern, as you would probably expect. But with the figures, and I want to put this into pounds because I think people can relate to that better. For our year, August 24 through to August 25, our car did 17,000 miles. That cost us £438. So you spread that over the year, you're talking, you know, sub £40 a month for our electricity, for the house and the fuel for the car. We probably excessively use electricity because we have solar. So we can do the nicer things like if we want the fire on in the living room because it's a little bit cold, rather than having to pay to put the gas on, we can just put the electric fire on and heat the living room. This system, 8 kilowatt peak, 20 panels, 9 kilowatt battery, doing it how we've been doing it, 17,000 miles in the car, and it's cost us £440. And how that's been split up over the year is we've paid £1,081 to buy in electricity, but then reliant on the export received sort of the peak 6 months of the year, we have received back £643. So deducting the two left us with £438 for a true cost for the year for our electricity using solar. And then you're probably wondering, what has that actually saved us? Now you can do the sums with your kilowatt hours and work out roughly for your situation where you're at with that. Now I have done an exercise to try and give a direct comparison to how much that would cost us if we didn't have the solar. It's a very difficult sum to work out, and the reason for that is people with EVs will understand you generally have a split tariff if it works for your circumstance. So I've done an estimation based on what I think we would have spent on charging the car at a cheaper rate and what the house would use at a dearer rate, which is on the screen now, and I'll take you through it. I've based all EV charging that we have done for the years of August 24 through to August 25 at 7p per kilowatt, and that's come out at a sum of £360. All the rest of the house I've based on 25p a kilowatt, and the usage was about equal, to be fair, on the sums that I worked out, and that would give us an expenditure of £1,500 just shy of for the year for the house, giving us a total cost of £1,856 for a full year estimated for an EV and our house with no solar panels. So if we deduct the £440 from the £1,800, that gives us a solar saving of £1,400 for the year for our system at the prices of 24 into 25. Things have changed slightly coming into 25, 26, but at £1,400 for the year, we're looking at a payback of probably 12 years for our system. 12 years seems a lot, and if you watch some of my previous videos where we've spoke about how much the system cost, for me the decision point was, does the payback lower than what the warranty holds? Now some of this equipment holds a 15-year warranty, 20 years warranty. It's dependent on what you have, the manufacturer you buy, and for me at 12 years I'm still quite happy with that. Now we have to consider everything else, you know, the situation of the world, uncontrollable gas prices at times, uncontrollable fuel prices, things that are out of our hands as such for the individual. And what I like about having this is I'm not fully protected, but I have the ability to still use my car if I've got no fuel. These times when we could go without gas for our hot water, and it's all the little additions like that, the cash flow on a monthly basis. You know, we are an extra 130, 140 pound a month better off by having this. And then also we're protected from inflation. Now, we bought when solar panels were at the dearest price, and I believe they're probably half of what they were. So you may be able to get a similar system, 4 years later at a similar price. But from an electricity point of view, we're protected from inflation as such, because we can control how we use the electricity, and should export rates drop, but the grid needs it, should they drop, we have the ability to use everything we produce to protect ourselves from that. With these videos, it's very difficult to give the information out on our circumstances for everyone, but I hope what we've said here gives you a clear understanding of how our system is working, how it's performing, and our circumstance should things change. Just to touch on 25 going into 26, and I did a bit of an exercise to get me ahead of the game for next year. Because of our EV usage change, the car's probably doing sub 10,000 miles a year now compared to the 20,000 it's done in previous years. We are looking, and this is an estimation, that we will spend £150 on electricity for the next year. That will come in another video, but hopefully it gives you kind of an understanding of how the EV changes things and whether it suits your circumstances. Now, something else for 25 into 26 is, as of the 1st of April this year, we've seen a drop in the import tariff. Ours has gone from 7.5p down to 5p. Changes the game a little bit, makes it better for us because we're buying in for less overnight, and our export rate has remained the same at 12p, giving you a bigger gap for what you buy in and sell. So it's a bit of a game of just watching it, assessing it, and seeing what happens in the world. I hope that information was clear and suitable. I hope it's helped you understand solar PV systems and how it works for a family. We are a family of 3 with an EV, as I've said, and I hope the information is clear, helps you come up with your own opinion. Any questions, please do ask below. More than happy to try and help as and when I can with the information that I know. I'm just living through this process of solar PV. We will always have solar PV from our experience. I think it's a good option for homeowners. And also, please let me know what you think of the video, and should I do more like this, and maybe more on the EV as well, of how we live without long journeys. I do have a video driving back from Germany in it, 550 miles in a day. Please do go and check that out. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.